Councilwoman, looks like it's just gonna be you and I. All right, let's begin. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call this committee meeting to order for today, June 12th, 2025. My name is Councilman TJ Clark. I serve as the chair for the Quality Life and Public Safety Committee, and I'm joined by Councilwoman Natalie Rosado, who is our 16th member. We are broadcasting live at HPA-TV.org and on Comcast Xfinity Channel 96 and Frontier Communications Channel 6032. We do have a very brief agenda tonight. Thank you for Chief Barco, Director Covello, and I believe we have Captain Laureano, who's representing the police department. And we also have a representative from our Corporation Counsel's office, Attorney Natalie Fiola-Guerreri. We're going to begin with a presentation by Chief Parko and the Hartford Fire Department.
Good evening, Councilman Clark and the rest of our esteemed colleagues. Thank you for having me. I'll just share my screen real quick. You guys see that? Are you able to see the PowerPoint, sir?
Yes. Yes, sir. Yes.
All right. All right, so tonight we have the Quality of Life Public Safety presentation for Hartford Fire. As you can see, for our general updates, we're still moving on to the next phase of our accreditation process, which is going to Denver, Colorado in August. We'll sit in front of the review board and get officially reaccredited for the next 5 years. Our recruit class 30 is currently in process, is in week 8. We have 12 more weeks to go. 27 recruits out of 30. We had one recruit could not make it because of injury, and we had 2 recruits resign. Our radio interoperability with FirstNet, we're still doing the radio upgrades, and some radio inventory is in progress. We're currently looking to renew our extended warranty service for our portables and our mobiles, and our repeaters inside of our vehicles. And we're meeting with a few vendors to see how we can get that done. For our long-term goals, we continue with our firehouse renovations and our apparatus replacement plan. And if you weren't aware, we're currently looking to build a new firehouse on Sigourney and Homestead with the approval and funding from the city as well. So some of our special services activities provided fire safety information for 647 adults and children, totaling 1,313 people. Installed 143 smoke alarms and CO alarm combinations, installed 2 car seats, relocated 11 families, and attended 16 community meetings with CERT and our NRZ's Commissions on Disabilities, Faith-Based Initiatives, and the Know Thy Neighbor NRZ as well. The significant event fires for the month of June caused, and some of those causes was unintended smoking material, oily rags, and metal shavings. And those, as you can see in the PowerPoint presentation, which I emailed council, some of the addresses for some of those fires: Pliny Street, Sterling Street, and Park Street. Our cadet program is still doing well. The current cadets are currently still going through the motions of becoming a full-fledged fire cadet. Still going over chapter reviews on IFSTA. Again, they've completed their incident command training and they're still continuing with like hands-on opportunities through HFD ride program, and that's 4 hours a couple times a week with a selected fire station. They get to eat and go out on calls with actual firefighters and observe the activities that they do. So our fire response data for the month of May, as you can see, our fire response was 75%. We had 8 fires in the month of May. It's up a little bit from last month, a couple percentage, but we continue to monitor our response time. We're looking to do some improvements in regards to response time, where we're looking to buy some more equipment to place inside the fire houses so individuals know how long it takes them from getting either upstairs or in general population or the kitchen to the apparatus and out the door. So we're working so they'll have a visual timer in front of the apparatus next to the bay doors so they can see how long it actually takes them. And hopefully that will improve with our response times in terms of turnout times, and that's the men and women getting dressed and getting out the door. Our EMS responses, as you can see for the month of May, a slight increase in response. We continue to emphasize the importance of responding to EMS calls per our standard. Sometimes those EMS calls, the delay times are, because we have so many in the city at any given time, you might have an engine company or a unit responding out of district, which would cause some delays in the response time. Our incident responses for the month of May, as you can see, incidents by neighborhood, Asylum Hill, downtown, and Northeast had the most calls for service. Asylum Hill had 308 incidents for the month of May. Downtown had 271, and Northeast had 269 calls for service for the month of May. EMS calls for service for the month of May. Most of our calls are EMS calls for service, excluding accident with injuries. And then we have medical assists, which is when our EMS partners get on scene first and we assist them with whatever the emergency is as it pertains to EMS. And from the chart, you can see that Asylum Hill, Frog Hollow, Berry Square, and Northeast had the most calls for service for the month of May. Our rescue calls, again, continue to be removal of victims from stall elevators. As you can see, Asylum Hill had 15 calls for service. Clay Arsenal, Downtown, and Frog Hollow are your other 3 most populated calls for service as it pertains to rescues. And this chart is our calls for service broken down by hour on the left and then over on the right by week. So you can see for the month of May, we had 359 calls for service on a Sunday. On Monday, we had 349 calls for service. And then the biggest 3 was on Wednesday with 417 calls for service, and then Thursday and Friday. Friday being the highest with 518 calls for service. And you know, I often get asked, is there a particular time of day? But there really isn't any rhyme or reason to how those calls for service are generated by hour during the day, because it's different times. But as you can see in the left column, it starts to pick up around 1 o'clock. You can see the numbers going up from 180 to 148, 165, and 164. They generally go down after 10 o'clock at night. And these are the calls for service as it relates to fire stations. And we only had 2 calls that was beyond the 6-minute and 20-second mark. And that was in Engine 7's district and in Engine 11 district. And again, those times could be attributed to those engine companies responding out of their normal district, because the companies closer to those fire districts probably were already on a call. So again, the demographics, as you can see, we're still remain even in terms of demographics, or closely even. 35% Hispanic, 33% Caucasian, 31% African American, and as you can see from these numbers, 334 are male, and then 184 of those individuals live within the city. Yeah, and so our officer total 38% Hispanic, 41% Caucasian, and 21% African American. But we continue to promote to get more females on the job, and more city residents as well. It's been a little bit difficult in the past couple of years, but I think the numbers are slowly starting to rise in terms of people wanting to pursue this profession as a career. And that's it. Any questions or comments?
Thank you, Chief. I don't have any questions. Councilwoman Rosado, do you? Okay, saying none, thank you, Chief, for your presentation. And next, we will have a presentation by the Hartford Police Department, Captain Loriano.
Good evening, everyone. Chief Ravel apologizes he cannot attend, so I am here. I'll start with our current reporting week. We had 4 aggravated assaults, 2 robberies, 1 robbery with a firearm, 9 auto thefts, 1 burglary, 25 larcenies, and these are numbers for citywide, which puts us at 42 for this reporting period as compared to 84 last year for this current week. So you'll notice a 50% reduction there, which is really good, and an 18% reduction to the last week as opposed to this week. And then we're looking at a 28-day period. We've had a 40% reduction in Part 1 crimes. Year to date, 22%, and overall, over the last 2 years, 21% reduction in Part 1 crimes. And that's really attributed to just the hard work of all the men and women here at the police department. As far as violent crime, we're at 6 homicides for the year in comparison to 9 last year at this time, and 12 at this time 2 years ago. So a 50% reduction. Those are pretty good numbers, if I don't say so myself. You can go to the, yep, perfect. As far as firearm seizures, we're at 121 for the year. April was a particularly good month. We seized 41 in particular, and May was a good month. And 84% of those being pistols, 8% revolvers, 5% rifles, and 3 assault weapons as well were seized there. We'll move on to the next slide. Stolen vehicles are always a hot topic. Obviously, they're used in a lot of our crimes. We've recovered 63 stolen cars so far this year, with 63 arrests. January was a particularly busy month. We seized 24 stolen cars and made 29 arrests. The originating location, top 10, Hartford leads the way, and the recovery arrest town, also Hartford, leads the way. As we all know, a lot of roads always lead back to the city. And our top make of stolen vehicles are Acura, and the average age of arrest, 20 of them were 17 and under for age group. So far this year, our Capital City Command Center has processed over 4,700 requests, and which has obviously increased solvability in several incident types. And additionally, the Crime Center is actively working on some new technology initiatives and some camera expansions. Sergeant Mastriani announced today we now have some plate readers and a really good camera up at the upper end of Granby Street, which is going to be very helpful as we've gotten a lot of illegal dumping complaints up that way. And Granby Street is used as a thoroughway coming in and out of Bloomfield, so that'll be huge for us. So far in 2025, Vice and Narcotics has served 40 search warrants, made 125 arrests, seized 34 kilos of cocaine, 40 guns, and over $1 million in the U.S. currency. And keeping it short and sweet this month, that's all we have from our side at the police department. And I'm here to answer any questions if you have them.
Mr. Chair, I have a question.
Sure, go right ahead.
Chief Laureano, is HPD still giving out to the public the steering wheel locks for Kia vehicles, or did that
Yes.
expire?
No, we still have a ton. Our community service officers in particular always carry them, and they have them with them at the community meetings. And if you need any, send me a message, tell me how many, and I'll get you some delivered.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Chief Barco, for your presentation as well as yours. Captain Laureano.
Captain
That's all.
Laureano,
Yeah.
Captain Laureano, just a couple of questions. Does HPD still give out ring cameras? Do you still have inventory?
Yeah, last I checked with Mastriani, we had a handful left.
Oh.
I can get you an exact count later on, and if you need any, let me know, and I'll get them to you.
Okay, sounds good. And thank you for your presentation. I frequent Granby Street almost every day. It's my neighborhood, and I didn't recognize the camera, so I was wondering if that was us or Bloomfield that put those cameras up. But that's good that those are up there for extra safety precautionary measures.
Absolutely, Mastriani, he's a gold mine for us.
Now, do you just monitor those? Obviously, as part of C4, but are you checking the license plates upon request? How does that work?
So the license plate readers, if we have any suspected stolen plates, suspect vehicles, stuff like that, they're preloaded into the license plate reader. And if they hit on the reader, we get an alert. And then on the flip side, we do have C4 staffed almost 20 hours a day, and they're scanning all the cameras and looking for make and models, suspect vehicles, and all that. So they are being monitored frequently.
Okay, thank you. That's all the questions that I have.
So, Mr. Chair, through you, so
Yes,
we have now cameras available. If we want to put them up temporarily on streets, is that what I'm hearing?
We do have some temporary pole cameras that we use, not a huge surplus in those. The ones that are up on Granby are permanent. They'll stay up there. They'll outlive us.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Captain. Next is Director Cavello. Sorry, sir, I didn't see you on the screen earlier. That's my fault. When I was giving the introductions.
No worries, sir.
You have the floor. Thank you.
Okay, good evening. Thank you very much. Make sure I can. Are you able to see my presentation, sir?
Yes, sir.
Okay, let me see here. Okay. So good evening. Here's my staffing update. Only thing really worthy of noting here is that the deputy director position, which is still vacant, will be posted next week. HR has finalized all the particularities on which it needed to be addressed, and so that's going to be up soon. For telecommunicators, we have currently we have that says 22. We have 24. But you'll see in the next slide that we have 2 resignations pending. But we have 22 fully trained. We have 3 fully trained call takers. We have 14 that are in training. 12 of those are the new class, and there's 2 that are still leftovers from the previous class that are just finishing up their training. One had left for a medical ailment, and the other one for pregnancy. So the 2 of them one of them is back, and the other one will be back within a week and training again. We have 2 per diems, which leaves us with 6 total vacancies. Again, I told you 2 resignations. One's moving. There's, that's the reason for the resignation. The other one is looking for a new center, which we always talk about is a problem. We put so much time and energy into these folks, and then they go elsewhere. Morale, I just wanted to address this because it comes up every time. So I just want to tell you what I could tell you about morale is that there's 0 complaints against staff. And you consider with the total staff, that's just staff in the communication center, but the total department is like 63 employees. There's no complaints against staff. There's no pending discipline against any staff, and there's no grievances for last year or this year against staff. So it's still, even though we are pretty strained, staffing wise, it's still pretty decent morale. Some training that's worthy of talking about. We did this human trafficking preparedness for 911 professionals last month. We basically filled the EOC to the extent that Chief Barker would allow us. We had over 50 people in there. And the nice part about this is that basically I took the training funds that we have, which are pretty austere, and I was able to send this out so that we had, I don't have the list in front of me, but we had PDs from all over Connecticut that attended, mainly in this region, but it was stacked. And I think I've said this before, and I can't say it enough, that the getting these people in the room together to get to know each other and network beyond the training, which was fantastic. I might add, the woman that did the training was from, she was a retired dispatcher from Nevada, and had just a wealth of knowledge on the subject matter, and was very well received. And then we got tons of accolades from those that attended. And the benefit is I had the entire training class basically attended for free because we hosted it, which was 12 people. And then we had about another 8 or 10 from the legacy staff that were able to also attend at no cost, basically because we hosted it. And then again, we're running this homicide class. We did it last year. It is for anyone in the public safety venue, but it has a focus on 911 calls and how it relates to the crime of homicide. I was asked by numerous agencies if we would be having this presenter back, and of course we are now in November, and this just went out yesterday. We're already getting commitments for this, and once again I take the training funds and I keep rolling them over. So we only have roughly 18,000 in training, but what I'm able to do is we're able to send people to more training than we've ever been able to in the history that I'm aware of, at least from talking to legacy employees, because we keep rolling the funds over, and that's in November. Technology update. One of the things we're doing with technology that's pretty worthy of talking about is, and I just got this today, the commitment that it is actually physically underway now, is that we are going to have a CAD to CAD interface right now with the EMS providers. Right now, AMR and Aetna can see EMS calls through what's called CAD view, but it has a very limited interaction. They can't interact with it at all. But under this new CAD to CAD interoperability, they'll be able to interact with it. So what that means is kind of like this historical way, which is super antiquated, the way we do business. We take a 911 call for an EMS related matter. That 911 call gets put into our CAD system, and then we physically call on a landline to one of those two agencies and give them the call. That will no longer be necessary. As soon as we hit send that we receive the call, it'll populate on their CAD and they can dispatch their people, and we'll be able to see live as their people come up on the screen to be dispatched. So even though they're not a municipal agency where we could see police and we could see fire, we're not, and we won't be able to see their AVL data, their automatic vehicle locator information, but we will be able to see them accepting the call and being en route to the call. And it's going to streamline and make their numbers and our numbers more accurate as far as response times goes. And that's kind of a big issue. I talked to with the COO, the Aetna leadership, and they are willing to do the same thing. And it's noteworthy to tell you that it would have cost us an exorbitant amount of money if we had to build what's called this hub in order to make this happen. But AMR has the hub already, and it's a national hub that they use, and they're going to allow us to tap into it. So the cost is really, really doable. Community engagement will be at the Latino Fest with a booth and looking to recruit new dispatchers for our next class. This is on July 12th at the Hartford Yard Goats. So we've already secured a seat there. And then here's our numbers. I know pretty much what I tell you every time is that, I'm always just looking for trends and to see if anything is worthy to speak of here. There's really nothing. And I don't go over the numbers because PD and fire already did. I'll just tell you that if we get down here to total incidents, here's Heart Team. I know this is worthy talking about too. They're plugging along anywhere we can send Heart Team and save the HPD from going to calls that they wouldn't, they can't really service these people. We're getting Wheeler to them. I'm sorry, we're getting the Heart Team to them, Wheeler being one component of that. And you can see here the calls, not that slide, this slide here, the calls are kind of static. I'm just looking at May and April. 911 calls are static, and so is admin calls. I mean, it's a lot of, it's a big number, you know, taking 27,834 calls a month, but nothing's really changed with those numbers. Everything seems to be status quo. Just make sure I hit everything I wanted to hit. And I believe I did. That's it for me. Do you have any questions, sir or ma'am?
No questions from me, Mr. Chair. Thank you for your report, Director Cavello.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Director Cavello. No questions from me either.
Very good, sir. Thank you.
Okay, sorry for the delay. I was trying to pull up the agenda. Next up, we have item 2.4, Mayor Arvelapalan with the company resolution to approve an initial contract for the city's automated traffic enforcement safety device vendor. I believe we have the Director Deutsch here. Councilwoman, since you, thank you again for sharing last month's meeting for me while I had a scheduling conflict. Is this the item that we actually had postponed?
Yes, it is, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Thank you, Director Deutsch. Do you have any, I know we had some questions from my committee members and other council members and thank you for providing those answers. Do you have any follow-up information, anything new that you want to provide to us?
Yes, good evening, Chair and committee members. I have a presentation prepared if you would like to see that, and if I may share my screen.
Sure.
Can you see that okay?
Yes.
So as mentioned, this is staff returning to the committee for a request to extend the initial contract term for the vendor that was selected for the city's automated traffic enforcement safety devices, so known as speed cameras or red light cameras. And I want to thank the committee members for all the questions they submitted and Oscar for coordinating that. The presentation is structured mainly around answering those questions, which with some additional information, which hopefully is helpful to the committee. So just for some background on this, request for proposals was issued in August 2024 for the mentioned vendor. 6 responses were received, and the review panel included representatives from the Department of Public Works, Development Services, Police, Fire, and Risk Management. The selected vendor, Novoa Global, or Novoa, proposed one of the lowest prices and also had one of the highest ratings collectively from the review panel. And once they were shortlisted, their reference checks also came back the best. They have prior experience operating in a number of states and are the principal vendor for Washington, D.C. Their principal place of business is Florida since 2010. And they also noted in their proposal that they have never lost a customer or had a customer not renew their contract, and they have never been the subject of litigation. As to the cost and pricing of the camera systems, it would be $2,500 per camera system under the proposed contract, plus $10 per each violation processed. There were some questions about New Haven, who is also in the process of contracting with Novoa, and if their contract is similar. So in the case of New Haven, their pricing was $3,500 per camera, but $4 per violation because New Haven charges an additional surcharge since that program is operated through their parking authority. The cost of the cameras will never exceed the revenue. That's called a cost neutral provision, which was offered by most of the vendors that responded to the solicitation. So if no revenue is received in a given month for any reason, there is absolutely no bill that's owed to Novoa. The city's contract also specifies that payment would be conditional on satisfactory services. So the reason for the request for the initial contract term of 3 years instead of the standard 1 year is because of the initial upfront investment that would be made. That cost is about $60,000 on average at the low end of the range, but it can range up much higher to as much as $150,000 depending on the infrastructure constraints and the specific location. So at $60,000 in installation costs, the payback period would be about 2 years, assuming $2,500 per month in revenue. But that payback period would be longer, 4 years or more, if revenue is any less than expected or if the installation cost is higher than expected. Novoa will also be performing other uncompensated work for a period of months, other services for the city, including the preparation of the location plan for the cameras and setting up the processing system, permitting a number of other tasks before the cameras are even operational that they won't be compensated for otherwise. And then just emphasizing that what they're offering is a turnkey system, so it's ready to go as soon as the city executes the contract. So that system includes the equipment, all repairs, replacement if needed, and calibration as required. The processing software for the violation payment collection portal, as well as other means for people to submit payments, the generation of the violation notices, customized reports as needed, the training of municipal staff and officers to approve the violations, 24/7 customer service, outreach materials as needed during the public awareness campaign, as well as assistance during any citation hearing. As mentioned, there is no minimum revenue amount required by the contract, but based on the experience of other towns, limited experience that we've seen, Washington, Connecticut was the first to install these cameras in the past few months, and in the first 2 weeks of their operation, they generated about $21,000 in fines. I just want to note that the goal is ultimately to not have revenue due to all speeding being discouraged. That's the ultimate goal as a safety system rather than as a revenue generator. State law and the city code of ordinances require that any revenue be used for the purposes of improving transportation mobility or investing in transportation infrastructure improvements. After consultation, the mayor's office and their direction and concurrence by the Office of Management and Budget, the most appropriate fund was determined to be the Complete Streets Fund for the direction of that revenue, as well as the payment of the vendor. The Complete Streets Fund budget is somewhat separate from the general fund, but it must be reviewed annually also by the Department of Public Works, made available for public comment, and recommended by the Planning and Zoning Commission, and subsequently approved by OMBGA Finance and the Chief Operating Officer per the provisions of City Code of Ordinances and zoning regulations. Also, per the council resolution establishing the city's HPA-TV ordinance, citations will be issued anytime the posted speed limit is exceeded by at least 10 miles per hour. That enforcement is constant 24/7. So for example, if there's a school zone with a reduced speed limit at times during which school is in operation, the enforcement would apply to whatever speed limit is in effect. So if it's reduced to 20 miles an hour, that is what the speed limit would be enforced. Otherwise, it would be the background 25 miles an hour that would be enforced. So there will always be enforcement at all times. The citations are issued to the owner of the vehicle, and they're similar to a parking ticket in that they're financial only. There's no impact on registration or any other consequences. Violations must be reviewed by a police officer prior to approval and issuance. and there is a procedure for challenging those according to the city's established citation hearing procedures. So those would be similar to the hearings regarding parking, light, housing, etc., and could be virtual or in person. And appeals of those hearings are also an option. I just wanted to show some views of what these cameras produce and what the reviewers of violations would be seeing. So this is a representative image of a school zone where you see a car on the right and the license plate highlighted, and how some of the speed measurement is done. The camera systems work equally as well during the day as well as night or various weather conditions, as shown in the inset images of the license plates. This is a view of what a police officer would see when reviewing the images. So this is streamlined as much as possible. All of the relevant information is shown, and these violations can essentially be approved in 30 seconds each. It's simplified and coordinated also with a national network of registration databases. So many of the violators presumably would be from in-state, but if they're out of state, there are ways to enforce that as well. And then this is an image of the kind of citation that could be issued in the mail. These can be customized as desired. So this is from an example warning period prior to the cameras becoming operational, and some information is put in there or messaging that gives it a more personal or direct impact that these cameras are intended to protect the safety of everyday residents, and ultimately their intent is to discourage excessive speeding. And then all of the evidence is shown and also available through a link. As far as the contract itself, the industry standard is normally 5 years. That's what staff have seen from other example contracts and what was proposed by most of the other respondents to the solicitation. In the case of New Haven, their initial contract term is also 3 years. So this proposal is for an initial pilot period installation of speed cameras in school zones, but NOVOA can install additional speed cameras as well as red light cameras at any time during the contract period, as long as those locations are approved. NOVOA has that capacity. I'll also note that the camera locations approved by the Connecticut Department of Transportation may be amended at any time. So once the location plan is approved, there's no reason that other camera locations can't be added later on. Given all that, the suggested pilot period is about 6 months to a year, and that includes the required public awareness campaign and the initial warning period of 30 days. The city received federal grant funding in the amount of $80,000 for a citywide assessment of potential camera locations. That is expected to be available for use in 2026. Staff has been in contact with the Federal Highway Administration, and the execution of that grant agreement has been delayed, partly due to happenings at the federal level. But it is moving forward, and so we expect those funds to be available around the same time that we propose to widen the scope of the number of potential locations that we would like to include. And NOVOA's contract scope of work includes assistance with the preparation of the location plan, which must be approved by council and DOT. And that assistance would greatly facilitate the selection of locations and the specific locations and camera poles in coordination with the Department of Public Works due to their familiarity with the specific requirements of their camera systems and experience in general, which is somewhat specialized and exceeds some of the experience of staff. So having them contracted would be a great help in developing the location plan that needs to be approved before the cameras can be installed. As mentioned, the camera locations must be approved by City Council first as part of a public hearing prior to submission to the Department of Transportation. The intent is to obtain approval of as many locations as are eligible within 12 city school zones, and then any actual installations may be decided subsequent to that. So we figure it's better to have as many of those locations approved as possible, and that doesn't necessarily mean that all of those have to be installed. Staff are also mindful of the recommendations made by the Red Light Camera Task Force convened by Council, and some of those recommended locations would be among the locations within these school zones. Additional communication with City Council during the selection and approval process is anticipated. And I'll also just note that red light cameras and speed cameras outside of school zones require additional data, more of a narrative justification for approval by DOT, which is part of the reason why we're proposing to begin with school zones. If we look beyond those, that may further extend the timeline for the submission of the location plan. But as mentioned, that is something that we're planning to return to soon after the pilot period is shown to be successful, hopefully, and look citywide at other locations for speed cameras and red light cameras. So for an overview of what these locations would be, there are 4 officially designated school zones in the city, as shown. All of the school zones must meet federal and state requirements for the condition and location of signage. From a review that has been occurring over the past several months, there were some repairs that were initiated to bring some of these school zones into compliance in coordination with the Department of Public Works and HFD. So we want to make sure that all of those are cleaned up before we submit the location plan. And then there are 8 additional areas which have the school zone signage, but which were never officially designated by DOT. For whatever reason, DOT does not consider these to be official school zones. So staff are also working on getting these school zones formalized so that the city has all of these additional options for siting the cameras within. And staff are working with Hartford Public Schools and traffic consultants to bring these into compliance as soon as possible. Our understanding is that once those requests are submitted to DOT, that turnaround can be just a matter of weeks. And this is an example of what that submission would be, showing the signage and locations, relevant locations for all of the traffic signage and relevant characteristics that DOT would need to see to consider this a legitimate school zone. So next step are presumably the approval of the contract for the vendor, after which the vendor will assist in the preparation of the camera location plan, and staff will complete their confirmation of the city's school zones being eligible. The location plan will be submitted to council for review, and if approved, that location plan would then be submitted to DOT. Any comments from DOT would be responded to, but the intent is to have thorough enough of an initial submission that no significant comments are required, and that doesn't extend the timeline any further. Once we have an approved location plan, there is some additional permitting that's needed just for any work within the right-of-way. There's also training of officers in the processing of the violations, which will occur concurrently with all of this. And staff have been in contact with HPD and Officer Cicero during this process. There is a required public awareness campaign, which the VOA will also assist with developing materials for. There's the camera installation itself, and then there's a 30-day initial warning period, after which the cameras will become fully operational. And then, as mentioned, assuming that rollout is successful, we propose to look citywide with this grant-funded work to identify any other appropriate locations for speed cameras or red light cameras, and to have that be a full engagement process, have structured input from a number of stakeholders in combination with the data, and have a more comprehensive submission to DOT for any additional locations that are appropriate for these cameras. So all told, the expected installation of the first cameras is still around late 2025. And then I just wanted to share some of the example materials that NAVOA can deliver to the city for assistance in the public awareness campaign, whether they're social media posts or flyers, or just answering questions about many of the technical details of these camera systems. And staff are available for any additional questions you may have.
I'm sorry, what was that, Mr. Chair?
I'm gonna say what up, Lou.
Mr. Chair, can you hear me?
I can hear you now. Do you have any questions?
No, I do not. Thank you. Thank you, Owen, for this presentation. It's very detailed.
Thank you.
Shit, nigga.
Motion for further recommendation? Clear and contain the motion.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you, Mr. Chair.
I'm sorry, I'm having audio difficulties. The chair will entertain a motion.
Okay, I'd like to send this back to council with a favorable recommendation.
Second,
Motion made properly stated. Any discussion?
No discussion.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Aye, the ayes have it. Motion is passed. Back to council for our next meeting.
Thank you.
Next, we have item 2.5 on our agenda. Which is a resolution authorizing the mayor to accept a grant in the amount of $58,851 from the state of Connecticut DOT Highway Safety Office for speed and aggressive driving enforcement grant for fiscal year 2025. Anybody here to present? I guess not, but I'm ready to pass this. This is a typical grant that we will receive.
Okay, with that being said, Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a recommendation to send this back to council with a favorable recommendation.
Second,
Motion been made and properly second. Any discussion?
No discussions.
no discussion.
Hearing or seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Okay, the ayes have it. This item is passed.
That case, right? I'm gonna riddle you this.
This is the dismissal on the agenda. This has to be, sorry, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much and have a good night.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Night.
Good night.
Thank you.